I'm Dwight Drummond. Tonight, the province's top doctors hinting that new restrictions could be coming in an effort to lessen the impact of the Omicron variant.
Even if it is less severe, with so many people infected, there may be significant demands on the healthcare system.
We need a rapid and urgent third dose strategy.
That strategy appears to be taking shape, with hospitals and pharmacies working to quickly get doses into arms. Plus, Omicron has officials moving to tighten restrictions in Ontario's long-term care homes. Visitors will need to be fully vaccinated, and testing is being ramped up. And
when people take a close look at this individual, they'll be able to determine that there's a jacket that's being worn, there's some type of headdress.
Toronto Police releasing video of a suspect in the deaths of Barry and Honey Sherman. It comes 4 years after the billionaire couple was murdered. The province's top doctor says within weeks, the Omicron variant is expected to make up nearly 100% of new COVID-19 cases in Ontario. Tonight, officials are moving to reactivate mass vaccination programs, while new restrictions to slow the spread of the disease could be on the way. Our Queen's Park reporter Mike Crawley now with the latest.
The holidays are drawing nearer. Ontario's COVID-19 numbers are spiking. Hospitalizations are up 13% in just a week. The blame is on the Omicron variant.
Initial evidence around Omicron suggests that it moves further and faster than any other variant to date, particularly among unvaccinated populations.
The forecast is now for Omicron to account for 100% of Ontario's COVID cases by the end of the month.
Because it spreads so quickly, we're anticipating a potential impact on our healthcare system, and as a result, we're doing our utmost to plan and prepare for this increase in transmissibility.
Ontario is now averaging 1,400 new cases of COVID-19 daily. That number has jumped more than 40% in a week.
This freight train is barreling at us very quickly, and you're not going to stop the freight train. What you can do is you can blunt the impact of this.
How? Getting COVID vaccine booster shots into as many arms as possible is the first step.
We need a rapid and urgent third dose strategy. We do. 2 doses is really going to help, but 3 doses is better.
No acceleration of boosters announced in Ontario today. However, a government source says the Premier will make a booster-related announcement tomorrow. And tomorrow's cabinet meeting will be largely focused on dramatically expanding Ontario's capacity for giving third doses. The province's public health advisors are reviewing everything from shrinking capacity limits at venues to ramping pandemic restrictions back up again, with recommendations going to the government shortly.
I do believe there will be a discussion in the coming days about what additional measures we may need, if any, to best protect Ontarians against Omicron.
Should you cancel your plans for holiday gatherings? That depends.
I am most concerned about those that are very vulnerable to this disease. So if you're older, you're immune suppressed, you're a transplant, you've received a transplant, or undergoing cancer therapy.
For everyone else, the advice for now is to reduce your contacts and keep on wearing masks. Mike Crawley, CBC News, Toronto.
CBC News has learned that high-level conversations have been happening in Ottawa today about the implementing more travel restrictions in response to rising COVID-19 case numbers. Now, this afternoon, the Prime Minister tweeted that he and the chair of the Council of the Federation, BC Premier Horgan, were going to convene a meeting with the premiers to discuss Omicron. That's expected to take place tonight. Canada's Chief Public Health Officer, Dr. Theresa Tam, said just yesterday that the country's Omicron caseload is expected to increase rapidly. Starting today, more measures are going into effect at long-term care homes. All visitors and caregivers now have to be vaccinated, and the number of visitors is limited. Lorenda Redekop first broke this story that many of these changes were coming. She joins us live now. Lorenda, this is all coming as we head into the holiday season.
That's right, Dwight, and no doubt this will affect plans that families have to spend the holidays with their loved ones in long-term care. One of the changes is that there's a maximum of 2 visitors per resident at any one time. That's if you're meeting inside. If you want to brave the weather and meet outside, there's a maximum of 4. You can't take your loved one out of the long-term care home overnight anymore. It's just day trips that are being allowed. One of the changes changes that goes into effect as of today is that all general visitors have to be vaccinated. When it comes to caregivers, they have a little bit longer. They have until Monday to get their first dose, and then until February 21st to have both doses. There'll be twice weekly rapid testing for all staff and visitors. That starts as of Friday, and this comes as long-term care outbreaks have been rising. They're up to 11 right now across the province, and it includes some of the hardest hit homes that we heard about earlier in the pandemic. I spoke with the long-term care minister, Rod Phillips. He says that these changes really are about protecting residents, but he also wanted to get the news out there so that families could change their plans for the holidays if needed.
And Lorenda, what are you hearing in terms of reaction?
Well, I spoke with one family member whose father is in long-term care in the London area. It's actually his birthday. He turns 94 on Christmas Day. They were all planning to get together on December 27th. She rented the area in the home. Now it's going to have to be made a lot smaller. Take a listen.
My husband and I will still go on December 27th and have a little get together ourselves. But I think the message I really want to be known is it just didn't have to be like this. We could have been safe, and we could have celebrated even with the new variant.
She feels that the government perhaps could have been more cautious and also sped up the vaccinations already at this point. One advocate for long-term care families, she wonders about what this is all going to mean for staff. We've heard from healthcare experts really a concern that there could be either a lot of people testing positive or else having to isolate. She wonders what that's going to mean in the homes.
My big concern right now is who's going to be left to take care of the residents. I don't see anything here that discusses surge staffing or preparing for what's to come and what we're being very clearly warned of by the experts and public health officials. I don't see anything about mandating N95.
She would like to see staff at long-term care homes prioritize for the third doses. I heard from the long-term care minister in terms of just where those numbers are at. For residents right now, 86% have their third dose. For staff, it's lower, 32% or so have that. The minister says that they are speaking with the chief medical officer and more changes will be coming if he recommends them.
Yeah, need to get those numbers up in those long-term care facilities. Thank you, Lorenda. Peel Region's booster shot appointments are completely booked up just one day after being made available.
We've had an overwhelming response to our boosters at this point in time, and we are currently working actively to bring online an additional 40,000 appointments throughout the entire system here in Peel Public Health. I think in the face of Omicron, where there is some clarity that while 2 doses is still good protection, against severity to a large extent, but it really is important to get that booster dose.
Booster shot appointments open to Peel residents age 50 plus starting yesterday at 8 a.m. Lowe says additional bookings are being made available this week at clinics, pharmacies, and primary care physicians. Many of those can be booked online. Meanwhile, 84% of those age 5 and up in the region have now received at least 1 dose of a COVID-19 vaccine, while just under 80% have 2. Police releasing new details today in their investigation to the deaths of Toronto billionaires Barry and Honey Sherman 4 years after they were found murdered in their home. Greg Ross brings us the new details.
Police say this 22-second video clip released today was recorded on surveillance camera the night they believe the Shermans were killed. Police want to identify this person seen walking along a sidewalk not far from the Shermans' home.
This individual is a suspect.
But so far, very little is known about this suspect. Police can't even say if it is a man or a woman.
We are not able to provide you with any certainty the person's age, weight, or skin color. However, through photogrammetry performed, we have been able to determine that the suspect in this video is standing between 5'6" and 3/4 and 5'9.5" inches.
But it's another detail revealed in the video police hope that someone might recognize.
I would ask that you pay particular attention to the gait or the stride or walk style that this person has on the video. It is our hope that someone will come forward with a name when they recognize the individual's walk, the way in which they kick up their right foot with every step.
If someone can say, I know someone who had that pretty idiosyncratic gait back then, I mean, that's something to work with.
Michael Arnfield is an associate professor at Western University and founder of the Western Cold Case Society. He says while this video could point police in the direction of potential suspects, it's also possible the person in the video wanted police to focus on the way they walked.
Given the lengths that this individual went to obscure their identity, is whether the gait is a misdirect.
The reason police believe that this person is a suspect is because they are seen walking into an area around the Shermans' home on the night police believe that they were killed.
This individual walks into that area, does not continue to walk through, but remains in that area that's not covered by video footage, and remains in there and then comes back out sometime later.
Police wouldn't say if they have any other evidence connecting this person to the deaths of the Shermans, but Arnfield says the fact that they are referring to them as a suspect rather than a person of interest suggests they may have more information.
But it's actually quite significant and indicates that police strongly believe that this person had knowledge or direct involvement in these murders.
Barry and Honey Sherman were found dead in their home on December 15, 2017, 2 days after police believed they were murdered. Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
Toronto police have identified the city's latest shooting victim. 23-year-old Mohammed Asser was gunned down at a nightclub in the Nugget Avenue and McCowan Road area early Monday morning. Detectives say there were a number of people in the club when the shooting took place. Anyone with information is asked to contact police. Police say a 50-year-old Toronto man has been arrested and charged in a voyeurism investigation after allegedly recording both men and women while they were changing and using the washroom during photo shoots. Toronto police alleged a 25-year-old woman was a model who was contacted through social media by a photographer requesting a photo shoot. During the photo shoot, she changed in a room into another outfit. The woman later discovered an electronic recording device recording her while she changed. Jonathan Wong of Toronto has been charged with 5 counts of voyeurism. Police say there are multiple victims from Toronto, Ottawa, and Vancouver who have not yet been identified. Wong appeared in court on Thursday, December 2nd. Anyone with information is asked to contact police. A pedestrian was killed in Mississauga this morning after being trapped under a car exiting a parking lot near Amico Boulevard and Dixie Road.
There was a vehicle at some point that was leaving this private parking lot area, and at some point the adult female was struck. I believe it was the the fire department that was able to remove the vehicle off the female.
It happened around 6:30 this morning. Cannon says life-saving measures were performed on the woman, but she died on scene. The driver remained and is cooperating with officers. Anyone with information or dash cam footage is asked to contact the Peel Police Major Collision Units. With COVID-19 cases on the rise, Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland delivered a fiscal update today that promises billions of dollars in support programs. Ottawa will spend close to $30 billion to address COVID-19 issues over the next 6 years, most of it coming this year and next. CBC's Ashley Burke has the details.
A day supposed to be about pandemic recovery, thrown off track by a new COVID variant.
I am very concerned about the rise of Omicron.
The finance minister held the economic update virtually after 2 of her staff tested positive for COVID. Today's update shows Canada's deficit still staggering, but the economy has largely recovered from the historic damage done by the pandemic.
While Canada is in the midst of a strong economic recovery, we know that challenges lie ahead.
The Omicron variant, a stark reminder of just how volatile the pandemic is.
There is also an additional $4.5 billion provision that we have put in the event that Omicron were to require further border measures, further lockdowns.
Additional spending now being targeted at improving ventilation in buildings, rebates for anyone working at home, and a one-time payment to help low-income seniors required to repay COVID benefits, and a new fund to help those who work in live performing arts.
Our spending on things like rapid tests, on things like therapeutics, It is also money to help continue the support that some businesses and workers need in this final pivot in the fight against COVID.
There's also $5 billion to help BC rebuild after historic flooding, and money for supply chain issues, which is in part driving inflation. The government did renew its 2% inflation target, but the opposition says more needs to be done.
Inflation, in fact, is helping fudge the Liberal numbers while hurting families and seniors across this great country.
The lack of urgency and the lack of a response to deal with what people are dealing with right now, to respond to their worries, is why this fiscal update is really a failure.
The finance minister said that today's update is not the master plan for Canada's economy going forward. That will be released in the budget this spring. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Ottawa.
Toronto's average monthly rent is poised to jump 11% next year, while Mississauga's is expected to rise by 7%. That's according to Rentals.ca's latest national rent report. The increase would take average rents in the city to $2,495 by December 2022. Next year's forecast is similar for other cities across the country, including Vancouver, Montreal, and Calgary. Across Canada, this marks the 7th straight month of rent increases since April, following a year of plummeting rents caused by the pandemic. Let's bring in Ian Black for the first look at the weather tonight.
Not a bad day out there today, but there is change on the way, and that comes in the form of some showers that will be here through the day tomorrow. But boy, it's going to be mild out there. Let's take a look at it. 4 degrees with increasing cloudiness overnight. How about 9 tomorrow? Again, you'll need the umbrella, some showers around, and or little bits of drizzle here and there, but it shouldn't amount to all that much. Just slows down the commute. All right, here's the satellite and radar. What I do is I just tend to look at it for a few seconds and see if I can see any patterns. And what I see is what's given us the nice weather, high pressure on the way out. And if you look back here, the clouds are kind of moving in this direction. That leads me to think, oh, there's some milder air back there. And sure enough, milder air will be working in here well above normal. Normal high would be just above 0. We'll be well above that. But with that pattern comes the chance of seeing some showers, obviously. Here's a quick look ahead. Tomorrow morning, 7 a.m., clouds and 5 degrees. There'll be an easterly wind that will be dying down, and then it becomes more southwesterly as you move through the afternoon. But again, the trade-off is for some showers. I think the high could easily be set very late tomorrow, up around 9 degrees by 10 p.m. And it gets even warmer than that in the extended outlook. We'll have that for you coming up, Dwight, in just a few minutes.
Thanks, Ian.
The weather update is brought to you by Trane. We test, so it runs. Trane, the most reliable heating and cooling brand. It's hard to stop a train.
At least 90 people are now confirmed dead in the U.S. South and Midwest after Friday's tornadoes. The majority of those deaths coming in Kentucky. The state's governor providing an update today.
Our death count has not gone up since yesterday, and that is good news. We're currently at 74 Kentuckians that we've lost. The age range has gotten even harder. It ranges now from 2 months to 98 years of the Kentuckians that we have lost, some not even getting an opportunity to experience this life.
Crews worked overnight sifting through debris at the Kentucky candle factory that was flattened. Authorities are confident no one is left inside. U.S. President Joe Biden will visit the area tomorrow for a first-hand look at the destruction. Investigators in Oshawa say no charges will be laid in relation to a house fire that killed 2 children earlier this year. Durham Regional Police confirming today the fire was started by a child under 12 years old. 4 people in total were killed. Another 5 escaped the fire. The house on Olive Avenue was over 100 years old. The investigation is now closed. Police and fire officials will not be releasing the cause of the blaze. An unusual theft caught on video this summer has a happy ending tonight. A well-known Toronto artist said he accepted that he would never see one of his prized paintings again. Months later, he got an unexpected call from police. Talia Ricci has the story.
Toronto artist Peter Triantos has encountered many buyers in his career. And one in particular who came by in the summer seemed pretty serious.
They came in to see the painting. They wanted to purchase the painting. Came in once, came in again twice, knew quite a bit about me, the story about the painting.
But on the day of the sale in July, which was over $10,000, Trianto said something didn't seem quite right.
Kind of had a weird little feeling. I didn't really feel like everything was like normal. So I just had a weird feeling the way he was acting, very kind of nervous.
His intuition was strong enough that Trianto snapped a quick photo of the man's license plate.
And then we got a call later on that the sale wasn't that good, the credit card, something was up, and so we figured we lost the money, insurance didn't cover.
He paid it back and accepted the loss. This week, he got an unexpected call.
My wife answers the phone. I was kind of listening in, and she says, well, they found that they got the painting back. Got the guy. You believe this?
No.
I got my painting back.
Toronto police say as part of an ongoing fraud investigation, officers searched a property last week where they recovered a painting. Police say that painting has now been returned to its owner.
But I never thought somebody would go as far as to steal one of my works. I am forgiving. I understand people make mistakes, and that I do feel a little bit bad. I have no resentment to this guy. Who knows how he was thinking.
And now people are making offers. But Triantos has to hold on to the piece until the investigation is complete.
Here it is back, so now it kind of has a little bit of a soft spot to me, and it made a full circle, like it says there, and run and rise, and so many things on there. To happen to this piece, maybe it is special. I don't know, maybe it is, there's something in it that remains to be seen. So.
Talia Ricci, CBC News, Toronto.
Today marks the end of the Registered Nurses Association of Ontario 30-day countdown that called on Premier Ford's government to immediately ditch a bill that caps their salary increases at 1%.
We have warned about the nursing crisis for many years. The repeal of Bill 124 will not fully solve the issue of the nursing crisis, but it is the life-saving jacket that will say to nurses, please know that we are listening to you. Please know I, as a premier of this province, am acting.
Ontario nurses say they have been pushed to their limits during the pandemic, with many leaving their jobs for agencies that pay more. Despite several protests against Bill 124 and a letter to the Premier's office last month, the association says it has received no response from the Premier. They say Ford is out of step with other elected officials in Ontario who fully support nurses. Drug giant Pfizer is offering some promising updates on a COVID-19 treatment. The company says its new pill is effective in keeping people out of hospital and may even work against the fast-spreading Omicron variant. Hilary Johnstone has more now from Ottawa.
Our new antiviral pill has an 89% efficacy rate when it comes to keeping people out of hospital and preventing severe disease if it's taken within 3 days of when symptoms start. Now, if it's taken 5 days from when symptoms start to appear, then it's still 88% effective at preventing severe illness and hospitalization. So some really encouraging data here. Of course, we have had this sort of data before when it comes to Merck's pill. At first, it believed it was about 50% effective. That was then revised down to 30. So it also gives you an idea of just sort of the numbers here. Pfizer saying that it believes its pill is more effective than that Merck pill. So we spoke to Dr. Isaac Bogosh about this earlier, and he spoke a little bit about why this could be so important.
Number one, it's a pill. It's not an infusion. You don't need any fancy schmancy setup to get an IV in. It's just a pill. And number two, it keeps people out of hospitals. So this will help on so many levels. But you need the ability to confirm a test quickly in real time so that you can make a decision to use this pill or not. I think if it really is 90% in protective and keeping people from being hospitalized, that would be fantastic.
Pfizer says that this could be a new way of fighting the pandemic because rather than needing to go to hospital, people could perhaps be prescribed this pill and could take it at home. So we also have a statement here from Pfizer with the company's reaction to this news that they've put out, saying that, quote, emerging variants of concern like Omicron have exacerbated the need for accessible treatment options for those who contract the virus. And we are confident that if authorized or approved, this potential treatment could be a critical tool to help quell the pandemic. Of course, the key words there being if authorized or approved. This has not been authorized or approved yet, but officials saying with Pfizer, with the company saying that they do intend to submit that data quite soon.
That report from Hillary Johnstone. Some new advice from the World Health Organization. The head of the WHO says Omicron is spreading around the globe faster than any previous variant. He's urging countries to follow the measures we know work in order to slow the spread of the virus.
Omicron is spreading at a rate we have not seen with any previous variant. We're concerned that people are dismissing Omicron as mild. Surely, we have learned by now that we underestimate this virus at our peril. Even if Omicron does cause less severe disease, the sheer number of cases could once again overwhelm unprepared health systems. I need to be very clear. Vaccines alone will not get any country out of this crisis. Countries can and must prevent the spread of Omicron with measures that work today. It's not vaccines instead of masks. It's not vaccines instead of distancing. It's not vaccines instead of ventilation or hand hygiene. Do it all. Do it consistently. Do it well.
China is reporting its second imported case of the Omicron variant, but as health authorities monitor a recent COVID-19 surge, more than 50 new infections were reported today, mostly with the Delta strain, particularly concerning the outbreak in the Zhejiang province, which has fared relatively well for most of this year. Freelance reporter Patrick Falk has the details now from Beijing.
Authorities say that this outbreak is spreading relatively rapidly, but that's not the only reason why it's causing some alarm. I mean, first of all, Zhejiang province only had one case for the whole of 2021 until this outbreak occurred. And the second thing is that, we're told that most of these cases, if not all, are of the Delta variant. And remember, China has remained relatively unscathed by Delta up until now. So that is going to pose some particular challenges. And the other thing, of course, is that Zhejiang province is a key manufacturing hub. We're talking about cities like Ningbo and Xiaosong and Hangzhou, where Alibaba is headquartered, being particularly affected. And there hasn't been any assessment on what sort of economic impact there might be. But we've had 50,000 people placed under quarantine. Listed companies have had to suspend operations and lots of flights being cancelled. So one would imagine that the impact is not going to be insignificant. Patrick Falk for CBC News, Beijing.
UK health officials say the Omicron variant is spreading so rapidly it could overwhelm Britain's hospitals if it goes unchecked.
We are seeing reinfections and a higher rate of reinfections in Omicron compared to Delta, with a rate of 3 to 8 times the reinfection risk for Omicron compared to what we'd seen with Delta.
The worry is that it's highly transmissible, even if it proves to be less severe than other COVID-19 variants. Omicron is expected to overtake Delta as the dominant strain within a few days. The health minister says the high number of Omicron cases in Britain means it no longer makes sense to focus on travel restrictions. The government plans to lift its ban on visitors from 11 countries, mainly in southern Africa. Meanwhile, France is mulling tighter controls for travelers from Britain due to its neighbor's high caseload of the new variant. An Indigenous family from a reserve straddling the Ontario-Manitoba border is raising concerns about the care their son received at a Kenora hospital. He died at home after being discharged. As Logan Turner shows us, they worry he wasn't taken seriously because he was Indigenous.
Brent Skye's family says he was the kind of guy everyone wanted to be around.
My son Brent right there.
a doting father, a powwow dancer, and a hockey player.
When he was a kid, he used to score like 10 goals a game.
For Halloween every year?
Yeah.
In late October, the 32-year-old had a headache so bad it affected his vision. Paramedics were called and he was taken to the Lake of the Woods District Hospital in Kenora, 100 kilometers away. But the family says a few hours later, Sky was discharged while he was still in severe pain. The next day, his father went to check on him and found him dead.
Because I seen him lying there motionless, and I just started yelling, no, 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 don't take my son. I said, no. As I got to him, I knew it.
The family says Sky died of a brain bleed. They claim his symptoms were not taken seriously by the hospital because he was Indigenous, although they have no evidence. Similar concerns are being made in another First Nation.
They kept sending me home.
Chrissy Isaac says she only had an emergency surgery she needed after refusing to leave the Kenora ER. She says she no longer trusts that hospital.
I feel like if I was in a life or death situation, I'd go to Winnipeg.
This doctor is concerned the issue isn't being tracked.
These stories are really common, and they're heartbreaking stories, they're devastating stories, but they occur every day in hospitals across the country.
In Kenora, the hospital is still investigating Brent Sky's death, but its president acknowledged other situations.
There are cases of racism here that I'm aware of.
He went on to say clinical decisions were not affected and the hospital is working to change.
We have lots of work to do to build trust, and actions will speak as we go forward.
As for Brent Sky's family, they're asking other Indigenous people to speak up.
We're not the first family that this has happened to. Probably won't be the last, but at least the person next door is going to know that it's okay to say something.
And they're hoping that can help affect change. Logan Turner, CBC News, Shoal Lake 40, Ontario.
An elementary school teacher in Quebec is gaining support after she was removed from her classroom last week because she wore a hijab at work. The province's Bill 21 bans public servants, including teachers, from wearing visible religious symbols on the job. And Thibodeau has more on how some MPs are weighing in on the renewed debate over that law.
Hundreds of people gathered to support grade 3 teacher Fatima Anvari, who was removed from her classroom job last week for wearing a hijab, which is against the law in Quebec.
I hope Miss Fatima feels like she's not alone because everyone cares, like not everyone, but most people care, and that she's not alone in this.
It's wrong because it's protecting one culture at the expense of others.
A lot of Quebecers were frustrated and were against the law, against this law coming through, but now there's a face to the issue, and I think that's garnering a lot of support.
Bill 21 bans public sector workers such as teachers, judges, and police officers from wearing religious symbols on the job. And while it has broad public support in the province, it's facing court challenges.
It was clearly unfair. It was clearly discriminatory towards minority religious groups, and the impact that it's having primarily is on women, on Muslim women who wear the hijab.
The Canadian Civil Liberties Association wants the federal government to join in their Quebec court case fighting this law.
I think that there are probably a number of different legal avenues that are open to them, and the Attorney General should be looking at every possible option to address this unconstitutional law that is harming people's lives.
The NDP says if the feds join the current court challenge, it would also seek intervener status.
It's Quebecers themselves that are fighting this discrimination in court. So we should support those Quebecers that are fighting discrimination.
Yesterday, the Prime Minister said the federal government hasn't closed the door to intervening. And while he believes this law is discriminatory, the government hasn't gotten involved in the Quebec court case so far, for fear, he says, of triggering a jurisdictional battle with the province. Hannah Thibodeau, CBC News, Ottawa.
The Ontario government is recruiting 100 international entrepreneurs to start or purchase a business outside the GTA.
Through this 2-year project, they will be connected to opportunities that match their interests. generate at least $20 million in new investment for local economies, and create good jobs in communities hit hardest by the pandemic.
The government says each entrepreneur who is selected will be required to invest a minimum of $200,000 into their business. The province says the program will help fill labor shortages and drive economic growth. With a historic donation, construction on Ontario's first tall wood mass timber building is now underway. The structure will be part of George Brown College's waterfront campus. Natalie Kalata brings us a sneak peek of the net zero carbon emission facility.
And with that, the so-called mass timber movement officially breaks ground in the province.
Right now is an important time for us to consider the environment and to consider how we are as a post-secondary educational institution and how we're contributing to addressing considerations of global warming.
Corner of Queens Quay Boulevard. Limberlost Place will be 10 stories, home to George Brown College's architecture and computer programs and a daycare, all along the college's waterfront campus.
It is going to be a role model in terms of construction that we can be proud of and that will help us to meet our net zero goals by 2040.
Proponents of mass timber wood buildings like this one say they can help combat global warming by using specially engineered wood and reducing the need for concrete and the emissions that come with it.
This building will have no fossil fuel a part of the building, and as a result it'll be using some really amazing technology as to how it cools and heats.
The building's design includes solar panels and solar chimneys that suck in and circulate air. Plans also show the building will use Lake Ontario's deep water cooling system for air conditioning. Once complete, officials claim the building will be able to produce as much energy as it consumes.
It's given rise to conversations about exactly what kind of city do we want to live in.
Construction is expected to cost around $160 million. $10 million is being donated by Bay Streeter Jack Cockwell, the largest donation ever to an Ontario college. The building is expected to be finished by summer 2024. Natalie Kalata, CBC News, Toronto.
Let's get another check of the forecast with Ian Black, who's filling in for Colette tonight.
Well, it wasn't so bad today, but change is on the way, and it comes in form of a milder pattern for several days. But there will be some showers around tomorrow. That's the trade-off. By the time you get into Thursday, the winds will really pick up. I would not be surprised to get a wind gust in the GTA over 65 or in that ballpark by Thursday. One of those hang on to your hat kind of days, right? All right, warm fronts back here. Big lift in the jet stream. So that indicates this milder air is working in. Again, the trade-off is some showers. Let's work out the timing of all of that. Okay, so this is tomorrow around 8 a.m. Clouds have already moved in. Showers knocking on the doorstep, so you might escape the wet roads for the morning commute. But again, you see these showers working in from time to time. The breeze picks up out of the southwest, especially by midday and beyond, and a few showers from time to time to slow things down on area roads. By late tomorrow and into Thursday, you're looking at a real wind and a mild day, but a cold front comes through late Thursday, and that'll bring you right back to reality in terms of your temperatures. All right, let's look at those wind gusts. Easterly to start the day, and then they swing around, become more southerly in the afternoon. Might be a little bit of a windshield there, but boy, you can get out of the GTA and you'll be seeing some pretty gusty winds, and those will only get stronger for Thursday. Okay, so here's a look at the 7-day forecast. Showers at times tomorrow, mild, 9 degrees. Wow. How about 14 on Thursday? Clouds, slight chance of a shower, but wind gusts, as I mentioned, that could be up around 65. And then the cold front comes through, and that knocks the stuffing out of those temperatures. A lot of clouds on Friday, but only 2 degrees. Saturday looks like a little bit of snow, not a lot, a couple of centimeters in spots. That might slow things down if you have any errands to do. But back to a mix of sun and cloud on Sunday. Temperatures here a little bit closer to where they should be for this time of year. Maybe a few flurries by the time Tuesday rolls around. Okay, so you've got some rain tomorrow, windy and mild and wild on Thursday, and then the temperatures drop back for the weekend. A little bit of snow expected on Saturday. Look at this beautiful shot that Colette sent in. Beautiful farm scene. And if you look really closely, you can see these goats peering around the hay bale there. And it's my way of thinking that thing's smiling, isn't it? Check it out, it's smiling. And a beautiful bird of prey, thanks to Louise for sending that in. Probably the last thing a little bird might see. That's a look at your weather.
Thank you, Ian, and thanks for the pics. Oakville professional race car driver James Hinchcliffe says he will not pursue a full-time ride in the IndyCar Series for 2022. Hinchcliffe made the announcement today. He says he is not retiring from racing, but personal and professional factors drove the decision. The 35-year-old has been racing in IndyCar since 2011. In 161 starts, he has won 6 races, as well as qualifying on pole for the 100th running of the Indy 500. Hinchcliffe is leaving the door open for future races in other racing series. Wildlife rehabilitation centers in several provinces are seeing a spike in the number of snowy owls who need help. The regal birds have been landing themselves in all kinds of trouble on their annual migration south. CBC's Bonnie Allen has more.
A head-on collision between a snowy owl and a van last week near Regina. The majestic bird was embedded in the vehicle's grille, but shockingly, still alive. She was taken to a wildlife rehabilitation center for treatment.
She's lucky in that she doesn't have any fractures, but she does have a very serious concussion. She's very healthy otherwise, so we're hoping that she recovers quickly from the concussion and we can get her back to the wild.
Rehabilitation Director Megan Lawrence feared the worst, though.
We've had a lot of snowy owls come in already in the last couple of weeks that have been hit by vehicles. There seems to be an abundance around the city. Unfortunately, the other 6 that we've gotten have all had very catastrophic injuries and have had to be put down.
Other wildlife centers are reporting a similar spike in snowy owls. Wild North in Edmonton has received 15 injured snowy owls in just 2 weeks, a record number.
Migrating from the far north, making their way down to sort of southern Canada and the northern U.S.
The journey south from the Arctic tundra can be treacherous, but as to why there are so many injured snowy owls this year, so far no one can say for sure. One theory is a shortage of small rodents in some places has made snowy owls desperate as they hunt.
Sometimes they get so focused on their prey, they zoom right in on it. They're just soaring across the road. They won't even notice that there's a truck or a car coming towards them.
But this wildlife center northwest of Calgary is busy with all kinds of injured owls. The manager suggests more people are rescuing them.
People are at home more and finding more injured wildlife and just spending more time outside as well.
As for the owl who took this hit,
so we gave her an anti-inflammatory medication to help with any brain swelling, the concussion.
She's eating well, getting stronger, and could soon take flight. Bonnie Allen, CBC News, Meadow Lake, Saskatchewan.
Let's hope she hits the skies again. As we head to break, here's a look at where the markets closed today. The TSX closed down by 100 points. The Dow fell by 107. Our dollar traded lower at 77.85 cents U.S. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Lava continues to spew out of a volcano on La Palma Island, Spain, for a record 85th day. That's the longest time since reports have been kept. Thousands of people have been forced from their homes since the eruptions began in September. An estimated 3,000 buildings have been ruined, but no injuries or deaths have been reported. More than 50 people are dead after a truck carrying gasoline exploded in northern Haiti last night. At least 100 others were reported hurt from the blast in Cap Etienne, Haiti's second largest city. The truck apparently overturned while trying to avoid hitting a motorcycle. The fronts of many homes and shops were damaged along the street. A devastating quake in August killed more than 2,200 people. A powerful 7.4 magnitude earthquake struck eastern Indonesia today. The earthquake was followed by at least 15 aftershocks. Officials say only one person was injured and several buildings were damaged. A tsunami warning triggered by the undersea quake has since been called off. Hundreds of kayaks decked with Christmas lights and decorations lit up the winter darkness in Copenhagen last night. Kayaks floated through the canals of Copenhagen to celebrate St. Lucia's Day, with thousands watching from the streets and bridges. Paddlers with the best decorated kayaks received a bottle of champagne. The procession of light is held annually. It's a time when Scandinavia is often dark. Really pretty. That is it for us tonight. Thank you for joining us. Kelda has you covered after the National tonight. We'll see you back here tomorrow at 6. Have a great night and stay safe out there, everybody.